Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Brandon. Welcome to Audio Addiction, where you can find latest album reviews. You can find our band interviews, and you can find live coverage of the concerts that we get. Obviously, that I hope everybody out there is just staying safe, and washing their hands, keeping clean. But I've been pretty busy as of late. I've been posting a lot of interviews as of recently. I posted the last of the live videos I was able to get before all this stuff happened. So check those out if you haven't already. I'm gonna definitely try to fill the void with a new series that will be coming out very soon, as well as a bunch more album reviews, things of that nature. I know I've been slacking on some album reviews, but I hope to get them out to you very soon. And otherwise, just make sure to check back with the channel for some new content and some new reviews. So tonight we're going to be talking about August Burns Red's newest record, Guardians. So I want to give a huge shout outs to Adam Splitter. They were able to send me this record over early, and I've been listening to it nonstop just because I'm a huge August Burns Red fan. I found out about their music back in 2005 with Thrill Seeker, moved on to Messengers in 2007, Constellations in 2009, Leveler in 2011, Rescue and Restore in 2013, Found in Faraway Places in 2015, and then Phantom Anthem in 2017. They were one of the first bands that really got me into like metalcore and this whole genre, so I obviously have a lot of sentimental value. Also, being that they are PA Lancaster natives, I obviously hold a lot of respect for them as well too, just being kind of in that tri-state area. And it's just impressive to see that this is their 8th studio record. Again, not too many bands get that far, and to have this band really just continue on and just press on as years go on is really awesome. And I really feel like they deserve something like this to just continue on and be able to put out some really fantastic music. So I'm going to go through each track, give you my thoughts and opinions on it, go through some pros and cons, and then finish it out with an overall rating. So the first track is called The Narrative. This record really takes no time of like getting acclimated to everything. It really just kind of throws you in the deep end, and it doesn't let up. And I really feel like the record starts off always with really Jake's vocals. He's really been able to, I think, reinvent himself all over the years and stuff like that. And the way that he's been able to kind of alter his screaming ability has been awesome. I also know that Dustin steps up and does some screaming parts as well, which is definitely a plus as well too. So it was really cool to see him start off this record just really strong right out the gate, no holds bar. And I also love that Matt just continues to show why he's one of my personal favorite drummers in the metalcore scene. And I would say a lot of you probably enjoy his drumming ability, but he really kills it on this track and on a lot of the tracks off this record, if not the whole record. But I feel like that is to be without being said. I feel like most of you already know that, but he really kind of steps it up on this record. But I also appreciate how Dustin is able to step up over the years as well. Him and just Matt, I think they're just such a solid core, just being bass and drums respectively. I think they're able to kind of just really round out that rhythm core, and I really enjoy it. And he's just a monster for being able to keep up with Matt. Brent lays down some really awesome rhythm guitar parts, and then JB kind of follows that up with some really great lead guitar lines as well. And I just like how they're super attentive to kind of the rhythmic patterns of what Matt does. I think he was a little bit more like rhythmic in terms of like I wouldn't even say fills, but just like the way that he drums is just impressive for all the bands to the rest of the band to kind of match what he does, and just how they kind of all play around each other in such a way. This track is a really great opener, really not too much to write home about. I feel like if you you are a really big Burns Red fan, then this song is pretty much right up your alley. So we're going to move into track number 2, which is Bones. This one is one of the singles that has been released, and it's just got that classic August Burns Red feel to it. I love when they do stuff like that, when they bring it back. It has that nostalgia to me. Like I said, I've been listening to them since 2005, so it's cool to see them bring kind of like that classic metal vibe that they're so known for. And I've also been liking how aggressive these tracks have been. You know, I feel like in past records like Found in Faraway Places and Phantom Anthem, I know that they definitely tried a lot of different stuff. I think it was, you know, by the time Rescue and Restore came into view for me is when I kind of like peeled off. I remember reviewing Found in Faraway Places and Phantom Anthem, and I just didn't feel like, as much as they did try to do a lot of different stuff, like, you know, like incorporating different genres, I felt like it was a little bit sporadic, and it's cool to see them come back true to form with, you know, some of their kind of like classic vibes. I also love how the little breaks of like Reservation are always really nice, when they're able to kind of break up those super heavy parts with like kind of a nice, like, either like, you know, opening or a really nice beautiful melodic part, and sections like at the 50-second mark to around the 1 minute and 23-second marks really represent those sorts of breaks, and I appreciate them. I think it's really, you know, really hard to always just be, you know, 100% all the time, and I think they do a good job of kind of like, you know, kind of breaking it down, like knowing that you know this is going to be a heavy song, but to just pace yourself. I feel like that's really what's important to a lot of August Burns Red songs, is just the pacing of it, and I think they really just nail that to a T. And I also just love how that Dustin's bass parts really come out in those kind of like open expanses. I think that both Dustin and Dustin just kind of lets it go, lets it rock, and I think that JB and Brent really just let him do what he wants, and that's really, you know, a sign of like how long that they've been doing it for, and, you know, just being able to kind of like, you know, allow those sort of creative tendencies to flow. I also really enjoy Jake's kind of like singing, screaming kind of thing going on here. I know he does it in a few other tracks that I feel like maybe don't kind of hit as well as this one does, but I've always appreciated how he's been able to kind of manipulate his voice over the years, as I mentioned earlier. I think it's just really solid, and I think it's a really good sign of growth as an artist. I also find that they find a really good mix of just heavy and melodic parts. It's not like just straight, like just in your face. I think they do a good job of breaking it up. I think one of the cooler parts in the track was a solo from JB at around the 2 minutes and 43-second mark to around the 3 minute mark. I think overall it was a very solid song. I would say the outro portion of the song was something that I thought was interesting. I wasn't technically really a fan of it. I kind of see the direction that they were going for, but I wasn't really something that I was like, okay, that makes sense. It just felt like, okay, they were just trying to like kind of stop the bus, and then they just put the brakes on it. You know what I mean? It didn't feel entirely completed, but I think they did a good job of kind of ending it out in the best way they could. So we're going to move into track number 3, which is Paramount. This one is the most current single, I believe, as of time of recording, and I think that Bones, especially the end portion, kind of, you know, mellows it out so that, you know, the mellow portion of Paramount can kind of kick in, and then the song kind of just takes off after that point. The intro portion of the song definitely gives me that kind of Mariana's Trench, like Constellation vibes, which is my personal favorite August Burns Red record. So I found a lot of semblance in that, and I appreciated that because that's such a fantastic record. I also really love the double bass footwork going on from Matt. I think there's a lot of great things to point out about his drumming, but I think that was one of the cooler portions of the song, and I definitely feel like in a song like this, the nostalgia rings true. I was really just feeling the vibes of this track because it felt so like old school ABR, but at the same point it was just so modern to obviously be on a current record, and, you know, I think when they are able to kind of pull back from the back catalogs, it's really a fantastic thing. I also love the chants in the chorus. It's just super empowering, and it definitely fills the chorus with energy and the rest of the song to kind of like just push through and obviously just really just rip it up. JB have some of my favorite riffs, and Brent obviously have some of my favorite riffs on this track. Paramount is probably one of my favorite of the singles that have been released so far. And my God, that one portion at the 3 minutes and 5 second mark to around the 3 minutes and 26 second mark, that's just, I don't even get me started. It's super solid. Love that portion of it. And I also love that, JB is really kind of getting out of the box in terms of his like soloing and stuff. He's incorporated a lot of tapping parts, which kind of start at the 3 minutes and 28 second mark to around the 4 minutes and 10 second mark. He just is, I think he's always evolving too as kind of like a lead guitar player. He's really doing kind of like, fast, like sweep picking, or he does some like really nice tapping bits. And there's just a really great variation amongst the solos. It's not just like, oh, I'm just here to shred. I just want to feel like something fits melodically. So, like I mentioned before, probably one of the best singles, probably my favorite one personally, and was one that I obviously really enjoyed a lot. So we're going to move into track number 4, which is Defender. This one is the first single that they had released. They released it with an awesome music video, the comic book, like Marvel-esque kind of music video was really solid. I know Dustin's a big like video game fan, so he maybe had a lot of pull in that music video, but I was very stoked on that. Jake sounds absolutely huge in a track like this. I think it obviously has a lot to do with Carson and Grant and going to them all the time. Atrium Audio, they really do a great job together. I know that they've been working together for like a super long time, and obviously they know how to mix them, but just the way that they sound is just massive. So kudos to them for always making Jake sound like an absolute beast. But I really love the layering, the depth in a lot of the screaming, but more specifically in this track, he just sounded super full. The screams sounded really powerful. And I also really appreciated the piano in this track. I think it was in mostly the chorus. I know that I'm pretty sure that Matt does the piano, like synthy kind of electronic, like things throughout the record and throughout this song. He incorporates his like piano skills in there, which I think is really tight. As if he's just like, again, not talented enough. He was like, oh, I'm playing piano too, that's cool. But I think a lot of the reason why most of you are here are between the 2 minutes and 40 second mark to around the 3 minutes and 18 second mark, and if not, then it's definitely for the 3 minutes and 34 second mark to around the 4 minutes and 7 second mark. Both are valid answers. I'll take either one in the comments below, but I think generally, you're about those ABR breakdowns, and those are the two of the just gnarliest breakdowns I've heard from them in a long time. I really did my best to try not to listen to the record, just because I wanted to kind of fly blind. But I did listen to Defender, and I will say I didn't really like it as a single as much as I liked it in this record and just the format of it. I think, I never really kind of give a single a chance, just because I know in the grand scheme of things, if it's just a single, it won't like necessarily fit, I guess, because it's just a single. It's not like a standalone track. It's supposed to be in the record, but I feel like some singles can stand alone and obviously fit within the record, and that, to me, this track didn't really feel like that. It felt like very much like an album track. I personally feel like they could have picked a better track to be used as a single, but I think what they chose was really good, because there's some real heat later on. But overall, enjoyed this track. I don't think it was the worst single. Neither do I think Bones was a bad single either. I don't really feel like they have a bad song out yet. But I really do feel like this one was a solid effort from them nonetheless. So we're gonna move into track number 5, which is Lighthouse. This one overall was very interesting to me. I think it's a very unique track. I wouldn't necessarily say it's one of their best tracks, but I could understand where they're coming from. Jake kind of almost borderline sounds like he's singing in this track, and I think a lot of people had inferred that this is singing. Not I don't want to infer that it's singing or not, because it kind of feels like a scream, but it also feels like singing, kind of like what Sam Carter does in Architects, but maybe more leaning towards singing. So I'm not very good at labeling those sorts of things, but I thought overall it was solid. The verses were super nasty. I love kind of like the really cool syncopated rhythmic parts that sync up with, no pun intended, the instrumentals. I think that that's really solid. I think the way that they were kind of able to incorporate things was really good, and I think it was obviously very decisive amongst the whole band because they really absolutely killed it instrumentally. I can't really decide if I like the chorus, honestly. It's just like I've listened to it maybe a dozen times now, and it just really hasn't kind of sunken in, and I just feel like it's a little bit biting. I think I think when he does the kind of scream sing combo, like the yelling, I really kind of enjoy that. It's dependent upon the song, obviously, but I don't really feel like I have ill will towards it. This, on the other hand, is a little bit different. I think a lot of people are kind of going to be like, have a lukewarm reception of it, but I think for them to be able to kind of evolve and change, I thought was really awesome. I really love the melodic piece at around the 2 minutes and 22-second mark to the 3 minutes and 8-second mark. That was really solid. I think Jake does some really nice spoken word parts. But like I said earlier, I think a good majority of the song I enjoyed. I just don't know if I can really get into that chorus. It just was something that's just a little off color for me. But again, instrumentally, very solid indeed. So we're going to move into track number 6, which is Dismembered Memory. This one was a very, very cool song. I really dug the instrumentals. I thought they were on another level. And I think that's further cemented by Jake's screaming in this track. I think he does a great job of kind of having those like really biting highs, but also kind of having those just like real deep like lows, and is the way that he's able to kind of contrast both of those things just really well executed, and the contrast between kind of heavy and melodic is also really nice. Play off that. I also feel like technicality wise it's super technical in certain portions of the track, and I just feel like instrumentally the whole team, JB, Dustin, Brent, Matt, I think they did a fantastic job. It's heavy, it's brooding, and it's everything I love about this band. They're really stepping out of the box in terms of heavy stuff. This record feels to be some of their heaviest material as of recently. So it's cool to see them come back kind of true to form. So we're going to move into track number 7, which is Ties That Bind. And I really enjoyed this one as well. I think especially the intro portion of this song, it really has this kind of almost like soaring, like anthematic feel to it, which I feel like a lot of their songs do, but this one kind of takes it into another level. There's this little bit that Matt does at the 1 minute and 7-second mark to around the 1 minute and 25-second mark. That's just wild. I don't know how he's able to kind of put these fills in here, but just like the blast beats and kind of like the real like kind of rhythmic like snare, the kind of like cymbal arrangement that he does. I just don't understand how talented this man can get, because he's wild. I also really enjoyed just the expansiveness of the track, the way that they're able to kind of take kind of like, especially the intro, where they're just able to kind of go out and do a lot of big stuff, and then also like especially with the kind of the breakdowns, they're able to really tighten it up and really make it solid. So I've really appreciated how they've been able to kind of tally both sides of the fence, and just was heavily well executed. I also really enjoyed Jake's screaming. He lets out like a Ryan Kirby-esque scream at the 2 minute mark to the 2 minutes 11-second mark. I don't know if that's necessarily longer than Ryan's scream, because I know that man can scream. He's one of the best screamers out there currently, but I think Jake does a pretty good job of holding like a long note and I know that he had mentioned it in one of the react videos that he's done. And if you haven't checked out his reaction channel, it's very cool, so I really enjoy watching that. But that was hard, but probably my favorite portion of this track is at the 3-minute mark to around the 3 minutes and 30-second mark. If that breakdown doesn't register a stank face, like if it doesn't just like you feeling it, then you may need to go listen to that track again, because your boy had the nastiest stank face when I heard it for the first time. I was just like in my car and I was like, boy, like I need to repeat that. So I like, ran it back and I was just blown away. So I really enjoyed that. The way that they've been able to just land these massive breakdowns have been really awesome. So I was just stunned by this track, and it's another really, really solid August Burns Red track. So we're gonna move into track number 8, which is Bloodletter. This one has a dark vibe to it. I was really not expecting that, because I know a lot of their stuff plays off of kind of the more like, I wouldn't even say happy melodic stuff, but a lot of their stuff is more kind of geared towards like positive things, and this one just felt a little bit different than anything that they've done previously. I was very surprised they kind of went into, no pun intended, dark waters. But I think, God, Jake's lows on this track were hella gnarly. I really enjoyed them. I would easily say this is the best track off the record. I am not afraid to admit that. I know in past reviews I've been afraid to admit my favorite track, but this one takes the cake. I think this one, I'm glad that they saved this one, because it's going to shock a lot of people, and I am just ready just to see everybody's face as soon as they listen to this track. It's just aggressive, in your face. It's brooding. It's heavy. It's dark. I love just the minor kind of chord phrasing that just kind of instills this like dark mentality. JB has a really cool kind of like nasty solo at the 1 minute and 50-second mark to around the 2 minutes and 5-second mark, and then also just this insane breakdown at the 2 minutes and 20-second mark to the end. That drop gets me every single time. I love Bloodletter. Like I said, I'm not afraid to tell you how much I love this track. Best track on the record, hands down. So we're gonna move into track number 9, which is Extinct by Instinct. I was gonna mess that up, but I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. But this one was awesome. This was also another fantastic track, and I think I was also just kind of riding the high of Bloodletter, but nonetheless, I think that JB's just ripping it with the lead parts. It was really solid, especially to kind of open up the track and change up the kind of arrangement of it. Another track that has some really great instrumentals on it. I think if there's one thing you can take away from it, it's just instrumentally, this record is very, 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 very good. I think a good example is around the 45-second mark to the 1 minute to 5-second mark. Really well done. And then also in the bridge at the 2 minutes and 13-second mark to around the 3 minutes and 25-second mark, there's this strong kind of like Spanish kind of salsa music kind of vibe to it. And I know that they incorporate a lot of different genres, and I had mentioned it a little bit earlier in this review, but I think that the way that they were able to incorporate it in this track, I think really worked, just because of the kind of more like articulated like guitar parts. It was just a little bit more kind of like again, kind of has that like minor feel to it, but maybe not as much, like maybe like a minor seventh, kind of like more on the jazzier sort of side, but obviously not having kind of a strong jazz influence. But overall, really solid one as well. I love the layered synth as well, which again I think was handled by Matt, and really enjoyed this track a lot. I think again was definitely riding the wave of Bloodletter, but I think this one was equally it was in the same kind of ballpark as well. So we're gonna move into track number 10, which is Empty Heaven. The intro of this track, it definitely reminds me a lot of Entirety by The Word Alive. Not to a T, not exactly, but it has a similar kind of like the tapping like intro, like the way that they kind of like arranged the chugs a little bit kind of sounds familiar, but not entirely. And I feel like a lot of people are gonna hate me for it, because now they're gonna hear it and be like, oh my god, that's what I heard. They have a similarity to it, but aren't exactly the same. I also really like the leads, and how they kind of carried through a good portion of the intro, the first verse, and then they kind of, kind of dissipated once they got into the pre-chorus and chorus portion of the track, which was awesome. I think Jake's range in this track was massive, from just the really kind of, as I mentioned earlier, the really cutting highs to the real just awesome kind of mid-range and biting lows. I think he does a great job of kind of incorporating all of his different kind of vocal stages in a lot of the records, and I felt like this one was insanely well done. Another really great JB solo at around the 2 minutes and 13-second mark to around the 2 minutes and 30-second mark, and I really liked the synths before that breakdown portion. I thought it was an interesting musical choice, and I thought this one was another solid one. I didn't feel like I was really like I have like really striking opinions on it. I just felt like it was a really well executed August Burns Red track. So we're gonna move into the last one, track number 11, which is Three Mountains. This one is the longest track at around, I think, a little past 6 minutes. And the intro starts off nice. I love the lead section kind of kicks in. There's some like maracas. As I mentioned before, a nice like lead guitar with some reverb attached to it, and then the song really kind of kicks in when Jake starts screaming, which is around the 1 minute and 15-second mark, which is definitely cool. And I like how they've always been able to kind of weave in and out of like the kind of strong portions of the melodic part, but also kind of the heavier portions of the song as well. JB has a really nice tappy kind of lead portion part at around the 2 minutes and 40-second mark to around at the 3 minutes and 5-second mark. I found it interesting that they kind of how they've always been able to kind of string along tension, like, obviously a lot of their songs ride on how well of a breakdown they can do, and just the way that they're able to kind of like keep that kind of melody like flowing throughout, and then when they really want to hit you, they'll hit you. And I feel like in this track, I think it starts off slow and kind of builds and just kind of weaves in and out, and then they really kind of land it home with a breakdown, which is very tight. And I just also like that they've been able to kind of expand on ideas that maybe kind of were lost on some people. Maybe, being a kind of 6-minute track, I feel like they were able to kind of work out different sorts of avenues and different sorts of melodic passages that they maybe otherwise weren't really thinking about in maybe a track that's closer to a 3 or 4 minute mark, which is interesting to see. I think it takes a little bit more of a different writing process, but I think how it turned out was very solid. I also can see the vision of the track, but I don't feel like it really kind of came to its full potential. I think it was a solid track nonetheless, and I think it was a solid closer, but I think some of the larger ideas were kind of lost on me a little bit in this track. So some pros and cons. I'll get into the cons first because I know everybody likes hearing the bad news first, I guess. But I feel like some ideas didn't resonate with me, as I had mentioned before, Lighthouse, and the most current one that I was talking about, Three Mountains, or not Three Mountains, Three Fountains. I felt like those ones were kind of lost on me. I didn't really understand why, they were the way they were, unfortunately. But to me, I feel like they were ideas that didn't really fully play out the way that I would have envisioned them to be. But, nonetheless, I think they're very small cons on an overall really great true to form kind of record for them. Some pros: Matt Greiner. Listen, I don't have to tell you enough about this guy. This guy is probably one of the best metalcore drummers of all time, and he further cements why he's such a great drummer. So Matt Greiner, I think he did a great job. I think the rest of the band, Jake, Brent, JB, and Dustin, I think they did a great job of kind of finding their roots. It had hints and bits of like Thrill Seeker, it had a little bit of Messengers, it had a little bit of Constellations, had a little bit of Leveler. It didn't have as much as probably more of the newer stuff. I'd say anything past Rescue and Restore didn't really have as much as, but I would say a lot of the kind of nostalgia records that people insinuate with them, I think they did a really great job with that. I think this is their heaviest material to date. They really kind of went off the rails with that, and I really appreciate it because I was hoping for kind of a really heavy record from them. And I would say that the second half of this record is better than the first half. I think just the trail of songs that they have going on is just better. Like, I think anything after Lighthouse is just really solid to me. And I think they made one of the more memorable records. Like, the more current records, I really don't remember as much, but I feel like this record I'll remember a lot more when I go back and listen to it, or like I haven't listened to a while and I want to put it on. This is a record I feel like I will be way more down with. So really enjoyed Guardians a lot. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it, and how much I love this band in general. So it's good to hear them doing it. Please buy it. I know a lot of people have been struggling with this whole situation, so if you're able to afford it, it would be awesome for them to pick it up and to show how much you appreciate them as a band. But my overall rating for August Burns Red's Guardians, I'm going to be giving it a 9.4 out of 10. Go check this record out. As I mentioned, there will be links below to go get Guardians. This record comes out Friday, so if you can go pick it up, that will be awesome. Not at a record store, buy it online, and hopefully they will get it to you in a reasonable fashion. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this record from front to back. I obviously had a little bit of gripes in certain songs, but I think overall, it is one of the more current releases that I'll remember for years to come. So let me know in the comments what you think about the record. If you agree with me, if you disagree, I'd love to know your thoughts are on it. It's been such a crazy year so far. I'm hoping that bands don't stop releasing music, and I'm excited to show you what else I've got going on. Hopefully all of you are staying safe out there, washing your hands, keeping clean, taking care of each other. And if you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, share it. It goes a long way. If you could do any of that, that would be absolutely greatly appreciated, and I would be completely indebted to all of you. So thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you for watching. As I mentioned, my name is Brandon. We hope you got your fix, and we'll be talking with you soon. Peace.